and today I welcome you all to your chemistry class, and the topic for today, as you can see on the board, is atomic structure and chemical bonding, right? So this chapter is a common chapter for both 8th and 9th, and the content is almost similar, so I thought of making a common video both for standard 8 and standard 9 students, right? So as you all know about the atomic structure, so by now you all are clear about what is an atom. So let me once again define what is an atom. As you all know that matter is composed of very small particles. Now we know that they are called as what? Molecules. And molecules are further made up of what? Atoms, right? That we all know. Now atom is the smallest part of an element that may or may not exist independently. Okay. So what is basically the definition of an atom? Firstly, it is the smallest part of an element. Okay. It may or may not have an independent existence always takes part in a chemical reaction and it has all the properties of that element. Suppose, let us take the example of an element called gold. Gold is an element, we know, because what is an element? An element is a pure substance which is composed of atoms of only one kind. So if you are ultimately breaking gold into smaller pieces, the last particle, that is the indivisible particle that you get, the atom, has still all the properties of gold. Okay? And it is the smallest part of an element. It may or may not exist independently. We know that the noble gases or the inert gases are able to exist independently, but atoms are not able to exist independently. So this is the knowledge that we have about atom. Now, presently we are having that knowledge, but in order to come into this conclusion, many scientists have contributed. Okay, so let us briefly go back to the history, how these atoms came to be known, how these atoms came to be known, and now we know that atoms still have small subatomic particles called protons, neutrons and electrons. Okay. So we can say around the 6th century BC, Maharshi Kannad, he told that all the matter is made up of what? Param anus. Is made up of what? Param anus. Param means what? Ultimate. So that means he too suggested that, or in around 6th century BC, just imagine, Param anus. Param is what? Ultimate. Okay. And anus means what? Particle. Ultimate particle. All the matter in the universe is made up of what? Param anus. Now they are known as what? Atoms. Now these param anus are known as what? Atoms. This is the modern name of param anus, but it's suggested in the 6th century BC, right? And he also stated that these param anus are unstable. They cannot exist independently. So these one param anu combines with the other param anu to form anu. That means the combination, so this param anus combine to form anus, and this anus now is known as what? A molecule. As we know that atoms combine to form what? Molecule. Atoms combine to form what? Molecule. So it was Maharshi Kannad. Around the 6th century BC, he suggested paramanus. That is the ultimate indivisible particle of any matter is paramanus. And since these paramanus are unstable, so they combine with another paramanu to form what? Anu, which is now known as what? Molecule, right? After that, a Greek philosopher named Democritus. Okay, named Democritus. He was a Greek philosopher. So slightly we will touch the history. Democritus, he gave the name atom to this Paramanus. And this word atom was derived from the word atomos, which means what? Indivisible. Okay, which means what? Indivisible. So it was Democritus who proposed the word or coined the term atom for Paramanus. Okay, and this is derived from the Greek word atomos, which means what? Indivisible. But the first scientific theory about the atom was given by the scientist name, we are familiar with this name, that is what? That is who? John Dalton. John Dalton, in the year 1808, okay, he was the first to give he gave the first scientific theory about atom. Okay, and we are now these scientific theories were termed as what? The postulates of Dalton's atomic theory. You must have come across this Dalton's atomic theory, but by now we know that many of his theories which were put forward during that time have proved to be wrong now. We'll not go into it deeply now. But then he proposed the Dalton's atomic theory. The first scientific theory was given by John Dalton, right? So now, this way, gradually we came to know about atoms and also the subatomic particles. Okay. So after Dalton proposed his Dalton's atomic theory, there was a scientist called Michael Faraday. Okay, there was a scientist called Michael Faraday. Okay. He's also a very great scientist. Okay. In the year 1833, this Michael Faraday suggested or proposed, or he gave the conclusion that the electricity is due to the flow of charges. Electricity is due to what? The flow of charges. And from that point of time, we came to know that there are some charged particles that flow and produce what? Electricity. Right? So that made the scientists to do a research work on these charged particles and find out what are these charged particles. Now we know very well that the atom is made up of protons, neutrons, electrons, but was the contribution of a lot of scientists who did a lot of hard work and gradually came to the conclusion about all these things, right? So now, the discovery of electrons. So here we will be discussing many more things under this discovery of electrons. So by now we know that electrons are negatively charged particles. They revolve around the nucleus. We know many things about electrons, but then how they were discovered. Okay. So the scientist who is credited for the discovery of electron is J.J. Thomson. Okay. But the name electron was coined by G.J. Stoney. Okay. The term electron was coined by J.J. Stoney, but the credit for the discovery of electrons goes to what? Goes to who? J.J. Thomson. Okay. So it's a very famous experiment. Very famous experiments were being conducted by a lot of scientists during that time. That is called as what? Discharge tube experiment. Okay. The discharge tube somewhat looked like this. Okay. It was made up of a hard glass. Very hard glass was used. Okay. This was a setup of the discharge tube. The structure is like a tube, so this one is discharge tube, and this is called as discharge tube or cathode ray tube Okay, and just let me draw a rough diagram. So this was connected to battery. Okay, the high voltage current. So as you know by now in physics you have read, this is the negative terminal, this is the positive terminal. Okay. So this was how a simple discharge tube looked like. Diagrammatically just I'm representing it to you. So just during this time, during these days, what happened? There was a scientist called William Crook. William Crook. He proposed that. What did he propose? Gases are actually what? Poor conductors of electricity. Gases are poor conductors of electricity. But William Crook had, by his experiments, he had proved that if gases are subjected to very low pressure, so under very low pressure, if a high voltage electricity or current is passed through these gases, then these gases are able to conduct electricity. Ordinarily they are poor, naturally they are poor, but when a high voltage current is applied, they are able to conduct electricity. So based on his findings, this cathode ray tubes experiments became very popular during those days. And this only led to the discovery of what? Electrodes. Okay. So now, it was made up of a hard glass tube. The setup was like that. It was connected to a very high voltage. It is around 10,000 volt. Okay. The voltage applied was 10,000 volt. And what was important here, there was a suction-like structure. That means what? Just to evacuate the gas so that we have very less gas. Okay. Very means what to say, almost a near vacuum. This was a through vacuum. That means to create vacuum, the gas was sucked out through this outlet. Okay. So almost a vacuum was created inside. Now we can say it was almost vacuum inside this cathode ray. Inside this cathode ray tube, but we cannot say it was complete vacuum. There were still some amount of gaseous particles inside that. And the pressure, that means what happens? So now you know that gases exert pressure. Atmospheric pressure, you know about the idea of atmospheric pressure. What is the normal atmospheric pressure? We say the normal atmospheric pressure is 760 millimeter of mercury, or it is simply 1 atmosphere, or 76 centimeter of mercury. This is the normal atmospheric pressure. But in this case, what happened? The pressure inside the discharge tube was reduced to the minimum. That means almost a near vacuum was created, but not exactly vacuum, we can say, right? So that means there were particles, there were gaseous particles, but very little gaseous particles were there inside the discharge tube. Okay. So make your ideas clear, students. Okay. So it was almost vacuum, nearly vacuum, but not fully vacuum, we can say. So how the almost vacuum condition was created? By evacuating the whatever gases were there inside, by evacuating it outside. So by removing the gases, almost a near vacuum was created. So the pressure inside the discharge tube was 0.01 millimeter of mercury. So what is the normal atmospheric pressure? 760 millimeter of mercury. Just imagine. Normal atmospheric pressure is 760 millimeter of mercury, but a near vacuum was created, that is 0.01 millimeter of mercury. Now as you can see here, the negative, the electrode, these were the electrodes. Okay, these were what? Electrodes. Both of them, they were metal, they were made up of metal. Okay, the metal electrodes were used. This is also electrode, this is also electrode, and the electrode which was connected to the negative terminal of the battery was called as what? Cathode. Okay, and the electrode which was connected to the positive terminal of the battery was called as anode. And you know by now that cathode is negatively charged electrode and anode is positively charged electrode, right? And besides that, what was done here? A very high voltage current was passed. So whatever see. So there were some gas particles inside, but it was the quantity of gaseous particles were quite negligible. So the pressure was reduced to 0.01 millimeter of mercury by evacuating the discharge tube. So why it is called as a discharge tube? Because the discharge of ions is taking place. Okay, discharge. That means what is discharge? Making the charge zero. Suppose a charged particle is a positively charged particle, by gaining electrons becomes discharged, loses the charge. Likewise, negatively charged particle on losing the electron become discharged. So that's why this setup was called as a discharge tube. And why it was called as cathode ray tube? Because it was this tube, within this tube, that the cathode rays were discovered. Okay, so now technically let us know everything. Then now next thing, what happened here? So when a high voltage current was passed through this discharge tube, something was observed. What was that something? Fast moving particles. Their motion was so fast, that from the cathode, some fast moving rays traveled towards the anode. And the particles, exactly, it is a particle actually. Okay, it's a particle, it's not a ray. Electrons are not rays, they are particles, yes or no? But then they were so fast moving that they were not able to detect the motion of those particles, and they named it as what? Cathode rays. So when a high voltage current was around 10,000 volt was passed through this discharge tube, what happened? This is a metal. So you know that metals lose electrons. So very high voltage was passed. So this metal is composed of what? Electrons. Yes or no? So the electrons became free by gaining energy, and they started traveling towards the oppositely charged electrode, that is the anode. That is what? The anode. But now how did they come to know? Because they were invisible. These particles were invisible, almost invisible. Yes or no? They were not able to see the particles moving. So how did they know that some rays are traveling from cathode to anode? So for that, what they had done, they had used a perforated anode. Perforated means what? It had perforations, right? It had perforations. It was not, that is, it was having pores. Yes, some spaces for the particles to move. And then here there was soda glass screen. Or zinc sulfide screen, which is a type of fluorescent. Zinc sulfide screen is a type of fluorescent material. That means what? Fluorescent materials means what? Whenever a particle strikes this fluorescent material, they produce what? They emit light. They glow. They start glowing. Exactly, they don't emit light. They start glowing. So what was noticed? So once again, just look at this setup. High voltage current was passed. Electrons were lost from this metallic cathode. They started traveling towards the oppositely charged electrode, that is anode, since they were carrying negative charge. We know that now. And when they passed through these perforations and they struck this soda glass screen or zinc sulfide screen, it started glowing with greenish yellow color. A greenish yellow fluorescence was seen here, which showed that actually some particles are striking this zinc sulfide screen, and that led to the discovery of electrons, right? And from this conclusion, we can from this cathode ray tube experiment, we can draw many conclusions. Firstly, the cathode rays are negatively charged. Why they were called rays? Because they were so fast moving particles that they were not able to see the movement of those. So it was, rays are very fast, no? So they are negatively charged because they move from the negatively charged cathode towards the anode. Okay, so they were, first of all, what is the point? These cathode rays were what? Firstly, they were negatively charged. Yes. Why? How can you say that they are negatively charged? Because they move from the cathode towards the anode. They were attracted by the opposite charge. You know that unlike charges attract, right? Secondly, they moved in straight line. They moved in what? Straight line. Okay, straight line. Now, how can this be proved that they moved in straight line? They were very fast moving particles and they moved in straight line. That means what? When an opaque object was placed in their path, a shadow, they produce a shadow. You know that light produces shadow. Yes or no? Light, when an opaque object is placed in the path of light, it produces what? Shadow. Yes or no? So same way, when an opaque object was placed in their path, they produce what? Shadow. So from that we can conclude that traveled in what? Straight line. And they had kinetic energy. They had kinetic energy. Now you know that kinetic energy is the energy possessed by a moving particle. When a particle is in motion, it has what type of energy? Kinetic energy. So how can you prove that these particles had, because they were particles, they were not rays, so they were able to produce mechanical effect. So how did they prove that they had kinetic energy? by placing very small paddle wheels, very small. Okay, very small paddle wheels were placed on the path of these particles, and these paddle wheels started rotating. They started rotating. It was very small paddle wheel. Okay, so from that we concluded that it is having what kinetic energy, and they produce what mechanical effects. Right. Besides that, they showed deflection under electric and magnetic field. Okay, they were deflected by electric and magnetic field as a negatively charged particle should behave. So what happened? So external field was applied here. External field, okay, was applied here. Suppose if this is a positively charged field, this is a negatively charged field. So what was observed? So since these particles were what, negatively charged, so when an external, like this, from top or bottom, opposite fields were applied, or from the sideways, suppose this is a cathode ray tube, from this side and this side also, or from up and down also we can apply, yes or no? So when external field, electrical field was applied, these particles showed deflection towards the what? Showed deflection towards the positive field. Yes or no? So how could they know? Because here also they had used the fluorescent material. So here there was a greenish glow being produced. So that showed that these particles are actually what? They are deflected by external magnetic field as well as electrical field. Okay. And the most important points about this electron was that they were independent of the nature of the material. That means these experiments were conducted repeatedly by changing the metal of the electrode or by changing the gas inside the discharge tube. Suppose you take hydrogen gas also, the particles had the same property. If you used helium gas also, the particle had the same property. If you used oxygen gas, the particle showed the same property. That means the nature of this electron was independent of the type of the metal used as an electrode, independent of the nature of the electrode, or independent of the gas used in the discharge tube. That means it was a fundamental particle for all the elements. It was a fundamental particle of all the matter. That means electrons of any matter is same, having the same property. That's why we say that the E by M ratio was same. Ratio was same. It did not change. It was independent of the nature of the electrode or the gas used in the discharge tube, right? That means by conducting the experiment, by changing the type of gas, okay, or by changing the nature of the electrode also, still the same results were obtained, same properties of the this cathode rays were obtained. And now we have given the term. Now G.J. Stoney coined the term electrons for these fast moving particles. And besides it also, electrons have many more properties. Okay. Also, the mass of the electron was found to be 1 by 1837 times the mass of hydrogen atom. The mass of hydrogen atom, or 1.908 multiplied to 10 to the power of minus 31 kilogram. This was calculated. The mass of electron was calculated, and it was same for any type of gas or any type of metal, right? And besides that, the charge of electrons, you should remember, it's what? I'm writing it here, minus 1.602 multiplied to 10 to the power of minus 19 coulomb. Okay. Minus 1.602 multiplied 10 to the minus 19 coulomb. Okay. And proton is also having the same charge, but just the opposite. Magnitude of the charge is same, the sign is opposite, plus. Okay. So this was how the electrons were discovered. Okay. And one more important point that I forgot to tell you is they cause the ionization of gases. These cathode rays were able to ionize the gases. They cause what? Ionization of gases. As I told you, it was a near vacuum but not exactly vacuum. Some gaseous particles were still there. So since these particles had mechanical energy, they had kinetic energy. So what happened? So when suppose this was a gaseous ion, so when these particles struck this gaseous ion, suppose there's a hydrogen gas here. Suppose the gas taken is hydrogen. So you know that hydrogen has one electron. Hydrogen has what? One electron in the valence shell. It has only one electron only. So they know this fast moving particles where these electrons were able to ionize the gases means what? The gaseous ions were first neutral. No? Atom is neutral. Atom is neutral. So suppose a hydrogen gas atom was here and these electrons were so fast moving, they had a lot of kinetic energy. So what happened? When they just came in contact, or when they just struck the hydrogen atom, they knocked out the electron of the hydrogen atom, and that electron also moved towards the cathode. So one thing you should remember: what is the source of this cathode rays? What is the source? Source is first the cathode, the negatively charged metal plate, yes, and also some amount of gaseous ions, obviously. So when suppose as a hydrogen atom, you see the atomic structure of hydrogen is, it has one electron in its valence shell and it has one proton, yes or no, one proton inside, right? It has no neutron, you know that, 1h1. So when this electron were knocked, when the outermost electron was knocked out, this hydrogen has gained what type of charge? It has become ionized or not? It has gained a charge H plus. It has gained a charge H plus. It was this gas became ionized. The gas became what? Ionized. And this electron too also traveled towards the anode. So the two sources were cathode ray. The source of electron was the cathode itself, and some amount of gaseous ions also traveled towards the anode. Okay. So dear students, I think it's enough for today. So in the next class, we'll be continuing with this same topic, and we'll be discussing some more important things on atomic structure and chemical bonding. So till then, go through this video well and study well. Okay.